teaching and learning evaluation with material titled Terms of Language Testing.
Presented by Group 4. Pay your attention till the end and happy learning!
My name is Faizah Thiwala dari Almuniry with ID student number 2010-2050-01.
Hello everyone, my name is Entin Agustina with student number 2010-2050-03.
Hello everyone, my name is Maharani Shalima with student number 2010-20500.
Hello guys, I am Chayatie Ambar Sari and my student ID number 2010-2050-06.
Well everyone, the first material will delivered by me, Entin Agustina. Achievement Test. Achievement Test is designed to measure a person's level or performance on certain knowledge or skills that have been learned in a particular course. The purpose of achievement tests. Achievement tests are universally used in the classroom mainly for the following purposes. First, to measure whether students possess the prerequisite skills needed to succeed in any unit or whether the students have achieved the objective of the planned instruction. And the second, to monitor students' learning and to provide ongoing feedback to both students and teachers during the teaching and learning process. And third, to identify the students' learning difficulties, whether persistent or recurring. And the last is to assign grades. There are two kinds of achievement tests. First, final achievement test, and then the second is progress achievement test. Final achievement test. This test is given at the end of the lesson whose contents are based on the syllabus or books or teaching materials that used during the lesson to match the preparation that students have done, so that this test can be said to be successful or efficient. And then progress achievement test. This test is designed to measure or know the level of progress that has been achieved by students. One way to measure progress is to administer a final achievement test and increase in scores that indicate progress. Are 4 specifications for an achievement test. First, the objectives of the lesson, unit, or course being assessed, and the second, the relative importance assigned to each objective. And third, the tasks employed in the classroom lessons during the unit of time practicality issues, such as the time frame for the test and turnaround time. And the last is the extent to which the test structure lends itself to formative aspect. The range for achievement tests from 5 or 10-minute quizzes to 3-hour final examination with an almost infinite variety of item types and formats. And then the second material is about proficiency tests. Proficiency tests measure how much a person can use the knowledge or skills that has learned, regardless of what training they have had. Proficiency tests also measure what students have learned, but the purpose of proficiency test is to determine whether this language ability is appropriate for certain language requirements, but the content of this test is based on the specification of what must be done in order to be considered proficient. Proficient here means mastery of adequate knowledge or skills. The example of proficiency test is TOEFL, which this test is to measure your proficiency in English. It consists of 4 sections with a total approximately 175 minutes. Section 1, listening comprehension, it takes 40 until 45 minutes. And then the section 2, reading comprehension, that takes 60 minutes. And then section 3, writing, it takes 60 minutes too. And the last section is speaking, it takes 10 minutes. Alright, I think that's all for my explanation. The next material will be delivered by Nyimas Maharani Shalima.
Alright, thank you so much, Entin. So here we go to the next material about progress test and aptitude test that will be explained by me. Alright, here I want to explain about progress test first. Now we go to the definition of progress test. So what is progress test? Progress test is a test which is intended to measure the student's achievement. Then we go to the characteristic of progress test that I divided into some characteristics. The first one, we have all 4 skills are tested. Right, there are reading and speaking for spoken language, also listening and writing for written language. Second characteristic is often required by the school or language center. And then for the third, different time frames. Yes, it is based on the level and kind of task. And last but not least, characteristic of progress task is indicates areas the students are having problem with and suggests we should go over them again. And now, the last point of progress task is progress indication. One of the way in measuring progress is repeatedly to administer final achievement test. In this case, increasing score indicate the progress made. But how about the low score that will be discouraging to both students and teacher? Well, as we know, better progress comes from a well-defined short-term objective establishment. Hopefully, both of them will fit so well. If the fault comes from the syllabus, it is the tester's responsibility to make a change, not in the test. Okay, before we go to the next presenter, let me explain one more test that is about aptitude test. Aptitude test is a test which helps to measure the success probability. And then we have importance of aptitude test. The first one is learning readiness. Second, individualizing instruction. Third, organizing classroom groups. Fourth, identifying underachievers. And fifth, diagnosing learning problems. And next, help students in their educational and vocational plans. And then, last but not least thing that we should know about aptitude test is the advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so for the advantages, we have objective and efficient comparison of aptitude tests. Yes, objective means comparing various candidates in a fair manner without creating learning, such as attractiveness or ethnicity. Efficient means helping organization to make better promoting and higher decision. And then the last one is about disadvantages of aptitude tests. Okay, we also need to realize that aptitude does not necessarily result in performance because besides aptitude, there are also other factors that affect the better perform or work. So, it means training, motivation, and interest are also needed here. Alright everyone, I think that's all for my material, and the next presentation will be presented by Chayatie Ambar Sari.
So a few seconds ago, you have watched the video from Entin and Nyimas about 4 kind tests of language testing. And now you will watch again the explanation from me about 3 more kind tests of language testing. There are placement tests, objective tests, and subjective tests. So let's go with placement test first. So placement test, we go with a definition of placement test first. Placement test is a test that is carried out to provide information about the placement of students according to their abilities in a teaching program. The purpose of this test is to find out the abilities of students' language skills so that they can be placed at a level of learning that suits with their abilities. And you can see on your screen, it is the example of placement test. The example questions above show a question that contains a rudimentary sentence, and the student task is to complete the sentence on the question. Students are asked to fill in the right answer in the blank sections of the sentence questioned, and then the correct answer shows the language skills of those students. And according to other Hages in the book of testing for language teacher, placement test can be purchased, but it is not recommended. Why? Because a good placement test is where the questions of the test are made by the institution itself. This is because the institution will make questions based on the curriculum that they use, so that the question that they made will be in accordance with the abilities of participants or students in that institution. If the placement test used is the result of purchases from other institution, this can be adverse to the institution or students. Why? Because the test may not be in accordance with the abilities of the students, so that the institution will be confused to place which level that match with the abilities of that students or participants. Okay, now we go to the next material is about objective test. The definition of objective test is a test where the answer is either right or wrong. In this test, there are answer choices like A, B, C, or others options that must be chosen objectively, but sometimes is also need to answer with complete statements. So we can conclude the definition of objective test is task that requires learner or student or participant to select the correct answer from among one or more options. And the term objective test indicates objectivity in the scoring of the test. And there are some kind tests of objective tests like missing words, incomplete sentences, true or false statements, multiple choices, matching statements, and etc. And most of teachers often use true or false statements, multiple choices, or matching statements questions for their objective task. So in this video, I will show you these 3 kinds of questions from objective tests. So we go to multiple choice first. So it is the example of multiple choice test. I think all of you guys already know this type of objective test. So according to Richard and Smith, they define a multiple choice test as a test item which the test taker is presented with a question along with 4 or 5 possible answers from which one must be selected. Okay, and then the second question is true false statements. It is the example you can see on the screen. You have to choose this statement is true or false, like that. And then this type of question is sometimes need a statement, need a reason, but sometimes it's not. And then this is the type of adjective test in which the learner has to indicate if a statement is true or false, like I said here before. Okay, and matching test question, it is the last example that I'll show you in this video. Okay, this is the example of matching test question you can see on the screen. And Macbeth says that matching test item requires students to match a series of problems or premises to responses or principle. Student consists of a set of directions, a column of statements, and a column of responses. So we are on my last material is about subjective task, and the 3 last material will be explained by my partner Faizah, Thiwala, Dahri, Almuniry. Okay, so let's go with the definition first. Subjective task is a task that requires answer from explanation or opinion, or types of question that need you to answer it with explanation with long statements, etc. And this type of question is like essay, opinion questions, or answer questions, like that, and etc. And then for the scoring process, this test is different from objective. Because sometimes in this subjective test need several scoring criteria. It's because that the answer to the test is not based on the choice of answer, but in the form of an explanation. So it requires criteria to be precise to provide an explanatory answer of the question or of the subjective test. Okay guys, I think that's all about my explanation. And then, like I told you before, the 3 last material will be explained by Faizah, Thiwala, Dahri, Almuniry.
So today I want to explain about test validity, test reliability, and backwash effect. For the first material I want to explain is validity in language testing. The definition of validity in language testing is how a biological and true interpretation and decisions are made based on the scores from assessment. Validity has been considered a trait of test. A test is valid if it measures what it has to measure and nothing more. Very simply, validity is the extent to which a test measures what it's supposed to measure. Validity refers to what conclusion we can draw from the result of a measurement. There are things being measured are observer recording device, for example like screening tests, and like its random error, retest reliability, correlation between observers, celebration trial, or variation with standard object, systematic, record journal variation, agreement between observers, contract and accreditation validity, sensitivity and specificity, validity of a screening test. This can be used to illustrate the way validity is assessed. Reliability can be described as the extent to which a test measures what it's proposed to measure consistently and accurately. In other words, test reliability refers to the idea that a good language test should give consistent results. A reliable English test is one that should measure whatever it's supposed to measure consistently under all conditions. A measure is considered reliable if a person's score on the same test given more than one is similar. For example, suppose a student took a test on grammar comprising 100 items and got a score of 90. This student further took the same test 2 days later and got 45. For the third time, the student took the same test items and received a score of 70. Since the student's knowledge of grammar cannot go under drastic changes within this short period, the best explanation would be that there must have been something wrong with the test items administered to the students. The test is not reliable because it doesn't produce consistent scores. Hence, it's not possible to make a sound decision on the basis of such as test scores. This is the essence of the concept of reliability, that is, producing consistent scores. And next is types of reliability. There are 4 major methods of determining reliability in language testing. They are namely test-retest, parallel forms, iterator, and item reliability. The backwash effect of language testing. First, the concept of backwash effect. Backwash or washback refers to the influence or reaction of testing on teaching, including teaching and learning in the field of education. Test developers and candidates not only believe that language testing has an important impact on teaching and learning, but also investigate the impact of specific areas such as teaching content, teaching methods, achievement assessment methods, and etc., positive and negative direction and predictions. Clearly, backwash has the potential to affect not only individuals but also the entire education system and all aspects that testers need to investigate. Therefore, the effect of backwash is much more complex than that of simple teaching tests. And next, the backwash effect of language testing on teaching. Target backwash language testing is accompanied by the emergence of language testing. Language teaching objective determine language testing objective. Language testing objective must serve the realization of language teaching objectives. However, the development of language teaching and testing is not always synchronized. Once the language testing system is established, it will have a certain time limit of relative stability. It has a positive or negative backwash effect on language teaching. And next, content of backwash. The content of language testing decides the choice of the language teaching content to a great extent. And next is method of backwash. The language testing methods also have an important backwash effect on language testing methods, so we have to pay attention in this method of backwash to get a positive backwash. And next is reliability and validity backwash. The scientific and fair test should have high reliability and validity. The higher the reliability of the test, the more objectively and accurately it reflects the language competence of the subjects. And the higher the validity of the test, the more effectively it reflects the language use and the communicative competence of the subjects. And next is measures to improve the positive washback of testing. There are 7 suggestions to improve the positive backwash effect, such as tests should cultivate ability, test content should cover a wide range of areas and have unpredictability, and then use direct tests and use scale references, and next achievement test should be based on teaching purpose, and next make teacher and student understand the test, and the last is provide help to teacher when necessary. That's all for my material. Thank you.